McDonald would then turn to look at the new Superman and proclaim, "That's not Superman." Sure enough, DC quickly reverted him back. In 1998, the team brought you the classic Batman The Long Halloween, The Dark Victory. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale turned their talents on The Man of Steel, with Superman for All Seasons, a 4-part miniseries that retold the first years of Superman, with each issue focused on a different season. A brilliant story that returned the character as fundamentals, it remains one of the highlights of the Jeff Loeb-Tim Sale pairing. On October 16, 2001, Smallville premiered on WB, which told the tales of a young Clark Kent growing up in Smallville, with the added twist of a young Lex Luthor moving there and the two becoming best friends. Clark was played by Tom Welling, with his parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, played by Jonathan Snyder and Annette O'Toole. And an interesting twist, Terrence Stamp would play the voice of Jor-El, previously the villain General Zod in the Superman 2 movie. Annette O'Toole also was a nice callback, as she played Lana Lang in Superman 3. Lana Lang in this series, though, will be played by Kristen Crook, but the most significantly was Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor, giving probably the best live-action performance of the character. Designed to give the origins of both characters, Rosenbaum's brilliant performance showed how a once likable young man became a supervillain. The show also had nice touches, such as Smallville's high school paper being called The Torch, the same name as the paper at Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's high school. It even had Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder guest star. It would go on to last for 10 seasons, though Welling would never don the costume or even be called Superboy, let alone Superman, since the Siegel family had won the rights to the name briefly in court during this time. Nevertheless, the show was a success, and over its 10-year run would feature guest appearances from the Green Arrow, the Flash, Cyborg, and so forth. Lois Lane would also join the series by the 4th season, played by Erica Durance, whose take-charge attitude and sassy persona made her instantly likable with fans and critics, with many arguing she gave the best live-action performance of the character. The show finally ended on May 13, 2011. In 2013, Superman continued to show that he was the most popular character of all time, with Action Comics #1 was auctioned off for $2.2 million at a record-breaking price for any comic book collector. On June 28, 2006, Superman Returns premiered, directed by Bryan Singer of X-Men fame and starring relative newcomer Brandon Routh as Superman and Oscar-winning actor Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. Meant to be a direct sequel to Superman 1 and 2 and ignoring 3 and 4 like they never existed, something even Christopher Reeve wished, it held those films in complete reverence, from incorporating John Williams' brilliant score to Luthor's plot still being about land. However, it was that reverence that ultimately hurt the film when many fans were upset that Superman never even punches anybody and leading to a box office disappointment. Nevertheless, Brandon Routh has since returned to the DC fold in the CW series Legends of Tomorrow, where he now plays Ray Parker / the Atom. On October 26, 2015, Superman's cousin got her own series with Supergirl, premiering originally on CBS before moving over to the CW, with Vanessa Benoist in the title role. While an uneven series at best, it continued to be a modest rating success to this day, and Benoist's brilliant performance is a continued highlight. Plus, her cousin finally showed up, played by Tyler Hoechlin, in Season 2. With the failure of Superman Returns, though, the movie front decided to get rebooted again, and on June 10, 2013, The Man of Steel was premiered, directed by Zack Snyder. Snyder, who previously made a successful adaptation of 300 by Frank Miller, and a somewhat successful adaptation of The Watchmen, turned his talents into Man of Tomorrow. Superman was played by Henry Cavill, with Amy Adams playing Lois Lane, and Russell Crowe playing Jor-El. Michael Shannon was playing General Zod, and Kevin Costner and Diane Lane played Jonathan and Martha Kent. It was shown that Superman did punch people more than a few times, but this time it went overboard. As when Superman battles Zod throughout Metropolis, there was wanton destruction and casualties occur, something that many fans criticized that Superman would never allow to happen. It didn't help in the previous year, DC's chief competitor, Marvel, had their movie The Avengers depict their heroes actively keeping casualties down and working to reduce them. Man of Steel did end up being a modest success, though, and set up for the eventual DC-EU shared universe, hoping to imitate what Marvel was doing with their MCU. The sequel, Batman vs. Superman, premiered on March 25, 2016, with Ben Affleck cast as Batman and Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. However, it was reviled by critics and many fans, objecting to Eisenberg being miscast and also squeezing too many plots into it. As one critic would put it, the problem with the story wasn't that it was bad, it's that there was at least 5 good stories in it, from Death of Superman to The Dark Knight Returns, squeezed into one movie, resulting in a complete mess. Nevertheless, it managed some financial success, though it didn't crack that coveted $1 billion worldwide mark, a must for any modern-day blockbuster. Remember, adjusted for inflation, the original Superman made $1.2 billion. Despite being killed in the movie, though, he would be resurrected in Justice League on November 17, 2017, but that was ultimately a critical and financial disappointment, and has now put the entire DC shared universe in jeopardy. And that more or less brings us to the end of the present-day character. One interesting note, a new Superboy has returned, Jonathan Samuel Kent in the Superman comics, the son of Clark Kent and Lois Lane, as DC has finally relented and made him into a father. Granted, this is part of the whole 52 convergence, multiple universes mess, so we'll see how long this will last. Though he is an interesting character, and he's actually get paired up with Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son with Talia al Ghul, in the comic book series Super Sons. A long way coming since his first appearance in Action Comics #1, in which he changed the industry forever. And like any great fictional character, he has outlived his creators and will likely live on for decades, if not centuries to come. Hello, it is now June 28th, 2018, time for some reviews. First up, of course, favorite comic book of the week, Saga number 53 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, which finds numerous allies and enemies converging on Marco and Elena with perilous consequences, as one character bites the dust. Another excellent intense issue that sees multiple characters pair off against one another and making surprising choices. You will be biting those to the bitter end, especially with that cliffhanger. And of course, Fiona Staples' art is beautiful and nicely detailed, perfect for depicting the exotic aliens and locales. This is still my favorite comic book every week, and it's always in the bottom of my pile because I'm one of those readers that when I buy my comic books, I like to have the best at the bottom, so I end on a good note. And this one never fails. So if you ain't reading Saga, you're missing out. Also, last weekend, Luke Cage Season 2 dropped on Netflix, and I just got done binging it, and gotta say I was pretty disappointed. Production value, it was still good. I mean, the acting is still great. Mike Colton is great, just continues to deliver great swagger as Luke Cage. You really believe that guy's bulletproof when he walks down the street. And Alfre Woodard is brilliant as usual, one of the best actresses working today. And, of course, there's a great atmosphere of Harlem. The music is fantastic. This is the best soundtrack outside Guardians of the Galaxy in the Marvel MCU. Unfortunately, this is once again a prime example, like Jessica Jones Season 2 and other the Netflix series in general, that 13 episodes is too long. Cut it down to 10 episodes or less. There's too much story content here. Or make it more episodic and build up the story and more characters and stuff like that. Overall, if you are a Luke Cage fan, check it out. But it's starting to show that cut down that episode length, man. It's just too much. Besides that, thank you for listening. And next week we're going to be going back into Superman again with the battle over Superman and the legal battle between Siegel, Schuster, and National DC Comics. Thank you, and go out and enjoy a good comic book.